Oh, morning. We are on lesson 3.3, problem 1, and we're on page 191. All right. We've been working with linear functions. When we graph them, they make a line. And we've looked at the equations different ways. We looked at how they relate to different scenarios. And we've looked at some key terms like slope-intercept form, x-intercept, y-intercept, slope. Okay? We also, on Friday, worked on converting forms a little bit. We worked with a temperature, Fahrenheit, Celsius equation. So we're going to do a little bit of converting, but also some identifying. Slope-intercept form. A key to the slope-intercept form is it's y equals. So if we're starting out with this form, okay, this is actually in standard form. Maybe take a note of that. Standard. Because I think down in the next problem, we're going to have to get that problem looking like this. It's starting out in standard form. We're going to need to rearrange things. Rewrite the equation right below, please. To get this into y equals, the first thing I'm going to need to do is move this 6x. Because I want the y term by itself. On this side, positive 6, I'm going to cancel out with a negative 6, leaving 5y equals. On this side, these two do not add, because one has an x and the other doesn't. So I rewrite it as minus 6x. I move over the 20 and put a plus in front, because it was a positive 20. Then I'm going to divide all the way through by 5 to get the y totally by itself. Divide by 5, 5, 5. They don't give us very much room. Goodbye to the 5's here. Y equals negative 6 over 5x plus, what's 20 divided by 5? 4. Okay, in this form, it's easy to find these two pieces, slope and y-intercept. Myra, what's the slope? Negative 6 over 5, the numbers in front of the x, but you don't write the x with it, just the numbers in front. Oscar, what's the y-intercept? 4. X-intercept, I think it's easier to go back to standard form if we want the x-intercept. 6x plus 5y equals 20. These two were easy to get out of this new rearranged form. This was the answer to part A. Okay, but when we want to get the x-intercept, we want to know where does it cross the x-axis. And this line will cross the x-axis when y is 0. So 6x equals 20. We're going to divide by 6. X equals 20 divided by 6. That reduces. It won't divide, but it can reduce. Divide them both by 2. What do we get? 20 divided by 2 is 10 over 3. Okay? Best answer at this point in your life, if it won't divide, reduce it. All right. So next one down, you're already given it in slope-intercept form. Now they want you to move it to standard form. Before we move it to standard form, though, I'm going to go ahead and pick out the pieces that are easy to identify when we have it y equals y-intercept and slope. Tony, what's going to be the y-intercept for this equation? 10. And slope, Anna? Beautiful. Questions on those two pieces? All right. The x-intercept is easier to find once we get it into standard form. So let's do that. Rearrange. Rewrite the equation. Hopefully there's enough room there. I should have probably shifted it over. I'll try and write small. The first thing that we're going to do if we're trying to get this in standard form, if we have a fraction for slope, whatever the denominator is, we're going to multiply everything by it. So I'm going to go through term by term and times by 3. That means over here I'm going to have 3y equals... Over here, when we times by 3, so we're timesing by 3 here, times by 3 here. When you times by 3 here, that 3 cancels the denominator. What's left? The minus 2 and the x. And then you can't forget to times by 3 here. So timesing by 3, it's like a distribute. Times, times, times. We figured out to use that 3 because we said, oh, our slope's a fraction, but if I'm moving it to standard form, I want to get rid of fractions. Now, in standard form, the x and the y term are both on the same side of the equal sign. They're over here on the left, so we're going to add 2x. I'm adding 2x because I only want 30 equals, and then take a look up at number 1. Which term should we write first, the x or the y? Take a look up at number 1. What order did they have things? X, y. So in standard form, they tend to be in alphabetical order. X is first, y is second. So I'm going to write 2x plus 3y, and that's standard form. That's the answer. It's the same exact line, but it's looking at things rearranged differently. Now, looking at it in this form, it's easy to find the x-intercept. If you want the x-intercept, that means you let y equal 0. 2x equals 30. Brody, what do I have to do as a last step? Divide. Thank you. Divide by 2, x equals 15. This is a spot where that line will cross the x-axis. Y-intercept is where it's going to cross the y-axis. Here's where it's going to cross the x-axis. A key in this, or something new, is this rearranging of equations. Sometimes it's useful this way. Sometimes it's useful up in the y equals version. Flip the page. Oh, I don't like these. I like it better with numbers, don't you? Yeah. Okay. But we can do this. Okay. Slope-intercept form. What do we need by itself in slope-intercept form? The y. So I'm going to start by writing this. Capitals. I need y by itself, so I'm going to subtract the x term. Did I go off? Whoa, there we go. Subtract the x term on both sides of the equation. Positive ax plus a negative ax, it cancels out, leaving by by itself. These two are not like terms. We rearrange a little bit, putting the x term first, moving the c over, and if it was positive, put plus c. If it was negative, put a minus. Now, since we want y by itself, we go ahead and divide by b here, divide by b here, and divide by b there. If those were numbers, we might be able to simplify a little bit. Y equals negative a over b x plus c over b. One thing doing this does do, thank you, Alden, is it makes it easy to answer these two questions. Imogen, what's going to be the y-intercept based on this form? C over b. And slope. Christian, what's going to be the slope? Thank you. Now, x-intercept, those two are easy to get out of the slope-intercept or y equals form. X-intercept's a little bit easier to get starting off with standard form. What you need for an x-intercept is the spot where y is 0. So we start off by making this whole thing 0. Ax equals c. We need to get x by itself. Christopher B, what would we do?
Divide by.
Thank you. X equals c over a. Okay, if you want to determine the y-intercept, which form is more efficient? The y-intercept, or another name for it is slope-intercept form. Why is that more efficient? It gives. Where does it give it to you? It gives you the y-intercept in the equation. Okay. How about the other intercept? What form have we been using?
Standard.
Standard form is easier. Why is that standard form easier? Why do you think?
Because it gives you the x-intercept at the beginning of the equation.
It kind of gives everything right there at the beginning of the equation. It's easy to get rid of that y and just focus on the x. Okay. You also in standard form have no fractions. Okay. So standard form, x is right there in the beginning. Question number 6. If you want to graph an equation in your calculator, which form is more efficient? The y equals or slope-intercept. And that's true about TI-84s. I wonder if Desmos.com you can just plug in a standard form equation. I haven't tried it lately, but it might be worth an experiment there. All right. As far as I know, that's as far as we're going in the book today. Hip, hip. All right. Let me double check. I'll turn these guys off.